Hey, what's up, YouTube? Welcome to Play It Painted Live. Sorry, we're starting just a few minutes late. But yeah, we had to just take care of a few things, and it's always a last-second thing. I with my son trying to go to sleep and mom stepping in, it's always like, the last 3 minutes before 9 o'clock. So we always start a few minutes late. I think you guys that watch this show with any sort of regularity know that we can start late, or in this case, actually, I can't really blame the kid or mom because I was downstairs here about quarter till, and it took me that long just to fix my connection issues. So, okay, so anyway, just so you know, tonight we are not gonna. Goal isn't to try to finish anything. I probably won't finish any models. So with that in mind, I figured, hey, I might as well show you some stuff that I recently finished just so that you guys aren't completely. And so we'll spend a few moments going over what this pile of stuff is. And this is the Nasir Faction Starter Plus bonus, the Kickstarter bonus for the Cool Mini or Not game Wrath of Kings. So I'm going to show you, here's what the studio art looks like on the cards. So you've got, the blood masks, which I believe painting some of these on last week's show. Then you've got like a specialist like the Blind Hakar. And then you got the Ashmen, which are the other infantry troops. So obviously the red blood mask, dark in clothing and some light. The 3 light stripes are a pattern here with these characters. So I did minor deviations from the scheme, but stuck with the same the same principal colors here. So the really not much here to mention on the called the Pelagarth blood things or whatever. I don't know, but yeah, not much to note here. I'm going with the three stripes in red though. So just to let you know, there are, I want to say 18 of these. So 12 come in the starter kit, and you get another 6 in the bonus. I'm going to just start to pull those off. If you're just joining us, welcome to Play It Painted Live. Let us know what you're painting, what you should be painting. As always, you can leave comments on the YouTube feed. I'm going to open up Q&A here, and you can also hit me up on Twitter at PlayItPainted. Okay, so right now, like I said, I'm just showing off some Pelagarth. Okay, I will. This is the problem with painting stuff before you really read or get to know it. You paint it, and you Pelagarth blood mask, and I should have known that because that's like their defining feature. Are the blood masks. So 18 of those. I'm pulling them off screen here because I want to say there are 6 individual poses for these. And for this Faction Plus Kickstarter bonus, we're looking at 49 total models. This took me, I want to say 4 nights, 3 nights, or 4 nights total to do this number of models. A lot of that was basing and building. The color for Nasir is all pretty uniform across these sets, so I didn't have to change that many colors. And the stuff like the blacks, the black colors, the dark ash charcoal colors are pretty easy to do. Anyway, here are the so these are the Ashmen. So these are the other basic infantry for Nasir, and you can see it's a pretty basic color scheme there that I went with. These are kind of cool. They kind of remind me of Sith. These fins here are annoying as all hell to glue in, and you have a lot of them. There are 18 basic 18 basic models for the Ashmen. I'm gonna start pulling those off. You have 3 of these bannermen. So, and then here's the banner. So real simple, really. I mean, it's more about when you're talking about rank and file troops and that kind of stuff. You're going for an overall effect. You don't. Well, I am anyway. With the speed at which I crank these out, I'm not really going for any award-winning painting or anything like that, and I seldom am. It's just not what I do. I paint with the intent of playing the games, and these are going to look good on the tabletop. They're painted to a reasonable tabletop standard, whatever that means, right? I just paint. Okay, that's what I do. Anyway, we'll start putting those away. So some quick math here. It says 18 plus 18. 36 of the 49 miniatures are broken down into 2 basic sculpts because they're just your rank and file, essentially. And it's kind of cool that once you have them all on the table, but sadly, it's not that fun to paint. It's like the old when I played the larger scale games, and that was like one of my biggest complaints is I didn't enjoy painting those games. I enjoy the aesthetic of fully painted armies and the aesthetic of moving all these hordes of miniatures across the board. But let's get real here. It's not too common to have fully painted armies, especially with the rate at which people switch armies and get into and out of the game and want to just buy pieces after pieces. I can't blame them for that. It's just a physical consequence of playing a larger scale game. Is it coming across somebody who runs fully painted stuff? He's been around for a while typically, or they forked out a little money to have it commission painted. But and neither one of those are both admirable things. These are the Ashman Hakar. So these are like the rank 1 leaders, I think. And there's 3 of those. So you get these 2, which are like the same sculpt. And then you get a variant of that officer sculpt. So you get a variant. And I think that's if you want to use him as like your overall commander or whatever. And then you get these Pelagarth Howls, which are kind of the officers for the blood masks. And you get 2 of these. So you get 2 of these standard looking ones. And then you get the different one. So you can see the red flesh really kind of pops on these. I went with a really cartoony style on the flesh. So we'll put these up. And then now we get into the bigger stuff. So you get some specialists. Here's the blind Hekar. Pretty cool. I like her little Igor guy here. I should probably give his face a wash. It's a little too clean. Whoa. So many things on this side of the desk here. I work in a very cramped space, so when stuff falls, it's all over the place. And I need to constantly re-optimize this space to make sure I'm getting the most of it. Then you get these longhorns, which are really cool. They kind of, they're like ogre oni slash miniatures here. And I had fun painting this red flesh. Pretty cool. These are just fun especially you privateer press guys are gonna love some of this stuff, some of the larger stuff in Wrath of Kings. Okay. Then you get 2 of these things. What are those? What are those things? What are those? What are that? Rathors. That's what they're called. Rathors. These were cool. Like Minotaur looking things. Very fun models. And then you get, I think these last two are characters. Shadris Arkim, Erikim, Shadris Erikim. I don't know. So this dude, pretty sweet. Yeah. That guy was fun. And then my favorite of this, Arkan Thesh. So there's Arkan Thesh. And then here's the card, the Arkan Thesh miniature. This was fun. This was an exercise in non-metallic metal. And just a fun sculpt. I like their kind of bunny-looking faces. So, anyway, that is the first faction I painted for Wrath of Kings. And believe it or not, all of those miniatures were just the starter set, which I believe comes with like 30 miniatures on its own. Then you get like another 20 from the Kickstarter bonus. So that's pretty insane. In terms of value, if you bought the Ancient King pledge, which was like $200, you get 5 starters, right? So 5 starters, and you're in the neighborhood of say like 50, close to 50 models per faction. That's 250 miniatures for $200. That's less than $1 per miniature, and you can see by the sculpts on these miniatures that is an incredible value, right? So from that aspect, pretty cool. But obviously 36 of those 49 miniatures are broken down into 2 with maybe half a dozen alt poses in it. So take that for what it is. Were the rank and file fun to paint? No, they weren't. It's tedious. You're line paint. You guys saw that last week. It's not fun, but the overall effect is good. If you are used to playing large scale games and you don't mind painting a lot of the same miniature, you're gonna have zero problems with this. If you're coming from like GW or any of those larger scale games, even Privateer, I consider to be a larger scale game for me. I have debated this with a few people. Is it really a large scale game? No, it's not a large scale game. But when I play skirmish games and I like to have 6 to 10 miniatures per side, Warma Hordes comes off as a much larger game. So anyway, so I thought I'd do a little show and tell here before we get formally started. I'm going to load some comments. Just want to welcome you guys to Play It Painted Live. Thank you for hopping on and just checking out the show, hanging out while we ramble together. So if you do have any comments, go ahead and leave them on the YouTube comment section. You can also, there's Q&A on the Google Hangout, or you can tweet me at Play It Painted. The Twitter stuff is not working much. I haven't really received much in terms of the Twitters. So anyway, let's get going on what we're going to be working on tonight. So like the description says, we're going to be building tonight. And I typically don't do building on this show. I usually have pieces built and primed and ready to go. What I consider to be the first night painting. So I do the first night, which I consider the prep night, and then the second night is where I really do the painting. I see a bit here that is actually part of a miniature, and I'll explain it to you. And we're just going to derail ourselves, and I'll go over that. So this little piece right here, never mind the other bits of dirt in my hand, but this little piece, see that little piece that looks like flash, right? Let me explain what that is. That is actually the tie, the length of tie on the Takahashi University band miniature. And this is flying off the front of her blouse. And I can't glue that on. But I'm going to keep it in some vain attempt that one day I'll stick it on, but I won't. I already painted the miniature. She's sealed. She's ready to go. I love the paint job. I'm not going to put that on, but I'm going to keep it anyways because I'm a psycho. So, but yeah. So tonight we're going to do a little building. I am not going to build Shale Han, but I might as well show you at least some boxes. Now, there's a bunch of unboxing videos on Wrath of Kings already online. So this is not an unboxing because you can see that shit anywhere. You can watch. I'll show you guys the painted stuff. Well, I did the Nasir stuff. When Shale Han is done and ready to go, I will show that off to you as well. But let me try to reach over here and not destroy shit and show you at least what the boxes look like. Oh, and by the way, for you viewers, my wife did make it a point to say hi. She wanted to say hi to those of you tuning in and watching. And thank you for watching this show. I don't know why she feels like she needs to thank you, but I guess it's so that you're keeping her husband appeased. Okay, so anyway, let me show you a couple of things. So, I'll show you the good shit. So anyway, the Ancient King pledge was for 5 starters, and so whoa, glare. I'll just show it at an angle here, and I'll actually let's take it up a bit. So this is the a Shale Han starter box. So for those of you who did not back this Kickstarter, and you might be interested in picking up this game when it's in the store, this is what you're going to get. This is the box. This is box size of a starter. And this box size is about the same size as, say, a Relic Knights starter box in terms of the, the dimensions of the box. But, and, you might be looking at the front and going, okay, so I get this and this and this and this and this, right? And you're like, okay, that's all expected. That's what I see. What I didn't do when I opened the first one is I didn't flip this over. And that's weird. It's actually, see how that works? If I turn it horizontally, it's upside down on the other side. But anyway, I didn't read the actual contents. Now let's check out the contents here. The Shale Han starter box, which is a little bit smaller in terms of model count, contains the following: 6 Wrath, and the Wrath are these big dudes. So they come on 40s. 6 Wrath, 2 Big Sister, 12 Dragon Legion, the rank and file guys. 2 Legion Keepers, which are these dope looking, sick. I totally want to cosplay that. It's so dope. I don't want to shave my head like that, but that armor is sick as hell. A Hammer of Heaven, and a Shield of Tailfawn. But anyway, so some quick math here: 24 miniatures. 24 miniatures in this set, in this box. And whereas the Nasir one had like 30 miniatures because they don't have big rank and file. They had the Blood Masks and the Ashmen, and you get a dozen of each of those. So there are a lot of miniatures in here. If I, well, it's great. I'll just show you. Again, I know that there are other unboxing videos out there, but whatever. I'm just going to show you for the sake of talking. Once again, welcome to Play It Painted Live. Let us know what you're painting or what you should be painting. Tonight we're doing a build night because I never really show you guys what goes into the first night of prep and building for the fast and furious painting that is Play It Painted. Fast and Furious. Not the shitty movie, All right, so I'm going to pull the shrink wrap off. All right, so check it out. Open this, and you get this, you get the box insert here. It's really just to keep the integrity and the shape of the box when these are stacked. But look at this. It's just a slob. It's just a bag of miniatures, and each of the miniatures are individually wrapped, which is fantastic, because can you imagine what the nightmare this would be if they weren't individually wrapped? And then you get your bases. Another thing to point out, the bases for these is that these bases are I'll show you on a 40 mil. Actually, that's actually a good illustration here. These bases they're concave. So instead of like, okay, so here's a Relic Knights 40 mil. Here's a Wrath of Kings 40 mil. So the 40 mil is, it's got a little bit of an edge here, but it's basically flat, and the hollow part is underneath. And you can see I put some ink or whatever in there. The Wrath of Kings is flat on the bottom, and then and the base itself is got a bevel to it, so that you can actually fill that with your basing material and build upwards. So I normally just drop some cork in there and a little bit of cork and a little bit of sand and plant a tuft in there. We're good to go, and it looks pretty cool. Nice and scenic, but it doesn't unnecessarily raise the height of the model to a degree that I don't care for. Pretty cool. The one downside is, if you're going to use the magnets that a lot of us use for putting these on magnetic trays, you're going to want to use thin sheet magnets. The telling thing when you open this is the unit cards. You don't get a lot, right, compared to the number of miniatures you get, because you don't have a very wide variety. Action Starter Plus bonus is really somewhere in the neighborhood of, say, 10 to 12 different sculpts, which is interesting. And that's part of probably why they were able to produce so many miniatures, because the number of separate sculpts that they needed to make wasn't much higher than, say, Relic Knights, but the way that the game works and the way they put out their kit, whatever. I lost words. It's easier because there are fewer unique sculpts. Anyway, and then just part of the Kickstarter, you get these Kickstarter add-ons. So this is the Shilhan Kickstarter add-on. It's just a plain white box. You kick this open, and it looks exactly like the contents look exactly like the other one. In that, ton of miniatures and cards and bases. Now, you also get the promo stuff. So you get Iron Eyes, and you get the Ancient King. I will probably open these up towards the end, when I start to paint, because this is like the dessert for me. If you guys watched me paint through the Relic Knights Kickstarter and I did some of the Robotech Kickstarter on camera. You'll see I get to the stuff that I like at the end. That's my methodology. I start with my least favorite thing art-wise or sculpt-wise, which is sadly these. They're kind of cool. They're kind of growing on me. But when I was looking at the Wrath of King stuff, I was like, okay, fat chicks with bunny masks and pasties. Yeah, not my favorite trooper. But anyway, so I start with least favorite and work my way towards favorite. In this case, though, I'm going to make an exception. I'm going to start with, I finished Nasir, and then I'm going to move over to my favorite, which is Shilhan. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I need to be realistic about my sanity, because these are taking anywhere from, say, 6 to 8 nights to finish, including build. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe it's more like 5 nights, but I'm not gonna marathon through these. I want to take some breathers, and I have some small commissions and whatever. Anyway, so Iron Eyes is pretty cool. Then this is just my favorite right here. This is one of the things that I really wanted here. The Twilight Knight for Wrath of Kings, and this is, I believe, a resin miniature. And the Twilight Knight is just absolutely gorgeous. I love the Twilight Knight for Teldor. I did not back Kingdom Death, and I think I'm stupid for not backing Kingdom Death, and I probably still won't back Kingdom Death, but this is beautiful. Like, I can't wait to paint that. So this is going to be the icing for me. You know, when I'm done with Shalehan and I work through, say, the Ancient King and Iron Eyes, then I'll get to her, and she's fantastic. Now, I may not use this. I may not use that base. I don't care for that base. What I might use is, I can't find the right size. Yeah, it's over here. Here it is. What I might use is one of these Arena Rex bases because they're so sick. Remember when I did Arena Rex, that Kickstarter, and I did marble bases, marbleized bases there? I want to do that for Twilight Knight because she's awesome, and I can't wait to paint that. But she goes in for now while I will trudge my way through Shalehan. Now, as for the rest of the pledge, I will probably be selling the Goritzi stuff to Corey. And then I may have a buyer for my Hadros, which would leave me Technies as the third faction to paint. And I would probably sell Nasir and Technies and just keep Shalehan for myself. That's my extent of that's my expectations within the game. So anyway, that was Wrath of Kings. Just a brief glimpse of what that Kickstarter entailed. I am pleasantly surprised by it. I did not have very high hopes with how the miniature quality would be. I thought that they were going to use the same soft plastic that they had for Relic Knights. And don't get me wrong, the Relic Knight soft plastic is okay. But the fact that they went with hard plastic for this really, really kicked it up a notch. And the level of detail in the Trooper models, I can comfortably say, is better than the level of detail on the Trooper models for Relic Knights. Once you go up in scale, though, I think Relic Knights catches up and in some cases surpasses their larger models. So anyway, David Luff, good evening from Virginia. What's up, man? How's it going? Let's see if there's any comments on the YouTubes. So yeah, that's Wrath of Kings. Okay, so another treat for us tonight. I will warn you that tonight may kind of be a noisy episode because I'm going to show you the shit that I normally don't do on camera. And the reason why I normally don't do it on camera is because it's loud. But check it out. This is awesome. Okay. So Jose, we did some gaming last night. We were playing Anima Tactics because, I don't know, because we love Anima Tactics and we're still bummed about the game being discontinued. And it got discontinued at a point where it was starting to come back and we were starting to get excited about it. So we're still playing it. In fact, for you anime fans out there, we're working on, just for us for fun, we're working on a mode of gameplay that would simulate the Grail Wars from the Fate Anima series. So if you're a fan of any of the, Fate Zero, Fate Stay Night, Unlimited Blade Work, any of the Fate series, and you understand how the Master Servant Grail War stuff works, we're doing that for Anima Tactics, and it's a lot of fun. And anyway, we were playing that last night. Jose comes in, he throws down the Studio Heraldez painting book for Infinity, and I'm like, because I love it. And Heraldez is one of my many painting idols. And then he throws this miniature at me, and he says, "Hey, can you paint this miniature for me?" And I'm like, "I would love to paint this miniature for you." Now, I have my own Heraldez book coming in on Monday, complete with the miniature, but I'm not keeping either. I'm not keeping either miniature. This one's Jose's, obviously. The one that I'm getting on Monday, I'm going to paint and sell. And I'm going to sell so that I can actually just get my Heraldez book for free. And the reason why is because while this is a beautiful model, I probably won't be playing it as any of the Infinity stuff that I have. In fact, I need to sell some of my Infinity stuff because I have more than I actually want to play. I do enjoy Infinity, but you know, my involvement in Infinity is going to be limited. So anyway, so sad about Anima. Yeah, me too. Very sad about Anima Tactics. But you know what? Yeah, we're working on the Fate version of that game, and it was fun. We tried it out. So so we included masters and servants. We have rules for masters and servants, and we have rules for using their command steals. And then we're going to have rules for noble phantasms. But anyway, yeah, I'm also sad about Anima Attack. So what I was going to do is, I originally, last night when I came home, I was going to pop this out and prep it and do all that stuff, and then so that we'd be painting this tonight. And I'm sorry, guys. I know some of you guys would rather see me taking a brush to this and talking, but tonight we'll build it. And so it's going to get a little noisy. And so this is stuff that you normally don't see. But anyway, how awesome is this? Joan of Arc, the limited model here for Infinity. These are the ones that you get when you pre-order the Studio Heraldez book. So I'm going to show you the steps that I take when I build and prep. Now I love painting. I hate building. Most of the guys that I know that play miniature games with me love building, hate painting. So anyway, you know, they love doing little mods. They love cleaning up the models and basing them properly. They hate the painting part, and I'm complete opposite. Like, get me, do what you need to do to get the model together, but then when it gets to painting, I'm gonna really have a blast. So anyway, let's open this bad boy up. In Infinity with its fiddly models. So you get this. I'm assuming Jose's going to want his little card back. And, oh, I need a, hold on. I'm going to grab a backdrop so you guys can actually see. Once again, welcome to Play It Painted Live. Let us know what you're painting or what you should be painting. No. Why am I bad at this? There we go. Yeah, the bottom of this thing. Okay. So rather than looking at that dirty tabletop there, go green down so you can maybe make out a little bit of what we're doing. It is silver though, so I realize that there will be a reflection. So let's take the bits out. So here's the body of the miniature. Corvus Belli quality is phenomenal. Just a little bit of cleanup. We're going to take care of that right now. And then fiddly bits. Okay, so separate head and two separate arms. It's not too bad the way that these are keyed. It's not going to be a problem. I just need to find my tools here. So obviously, this should be really not news to people. Triangle clippers, needle file. And I've got my X-Acto knife right there. I'm going to just clip this tab off. Just picked up a Russian KV-2 from Warlord, ordered by the FLGS. I don't know what a Russian KV-2 is. Is that a tank or a vehicle or something? I'm assuming this is for bolt action or Flames of War. I don't know. If I ever cloned myself, I would have a version of me that does all the historical stuff. Bolt action, Flames of War, Saga. Got to get back to Saga. The historical grade. They're not really necessarily historical games, but games that typically use historical grade miniatures. So even stuff like the Osprey stuff, Ronin, In Her Majesty's Name. I need to play more of that. I missed that game. And the very fun community behind IHMN. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. I almost consider IHMN to be more of an RPG than a miniatures game. I'm going to give this a file here. So I'm thinking, at this point, I'm already thinking about contact points with the base and how that's going to work. We'll see. All right. So, I'm going to pin. I'm going to pin this stuff. Pinning Infinity is always a little bit of a dicey thing because with how fiddly the bits are, you can potentially drill all the way through stuff. I use two sizes of bits for when I'm pinning Infinity. You won't even be able to tell the differences in the width here, but this is the one that I do most of the time. And then if they're particularly skinny, I'll actually hold them together. Maybe you can tell the difference. But I have a skinnier one that I use if I need to do really fine stuff. Now, the issue I'm already seeing is that the arms here are they're keyed in, they're indented on the arm side, and I need thickness on that side to do the drilling because I don't want to drill all the way through the arm and through the shoulder. Don't want to do that. That sucks. But see, these are keyed so that there's a little square notch there, and that square notch goes here. Well, that's actually the wrong arm, but yeah, it goes like that, right? And I just want to do a little bit of a pin there, just to give it a little more strength. And I'm going to clip off the flash here. Once again, welcome to Play It Painted Live. Let us know what you're painting, what you should be painting. You can leave comments on the YouTube comment section, or you can tweet me at Play It Painted on Twitter, or like David here, you can hop in the G+ chat area and leave your comments in there. 20mm bolt action, early War II Russian tank. All right. So just a little bit of cleanup here. Not too bad. Corvus Belli miniatures are so fantastic, but they're fiddly. And you know what's cool about it, though? I mean, people have complained about how fiddly the Infinity line is, but Corvus Belli isn't backing down. They're like, you know what? We make beautiful models, and this is the way it's going to be. And we love the scale. We're not gonna throw giant shoulder pads on our thick legs to make them a little easier for you to deal with. This is the aesthetic that we want, and we're sticking to our guns, and I have to admire that. It's of a bitch, but gotta admire that. Oh, okay. I do have kicker on me in case it comes to that. All right, so got my drill bit. Now here's the noisy part. I have pin vices. You know, I could do this with a pin vise, but I hate pin vices. I don't got that kind of time, man. This Play It Painted, we go quick. So what I do is I use a drill, and I use a super shitty drill. You know, Ryobi drill, 9.6 volts. And what you're looking for is you don't want to go high speed. You don't want to use your Dremel because your Dremel is way too high speed, and you're just gonna heat up that metal, and you're gonna melt it. We don't want to do that. We want a good amount of torque that you can get from a low voltage drill with not much speed. So I want to be going like that. That's good enough. All right, got my glue. And I need a paper clip. Paper clip. All right, so here's the last bit of a paper clip I was previously using. I'm going to load comments here real quick. Welcome, Play It Painted Live. Hope you guys, let's see if anyone popped in to say hi on the comments. No comments. Hopefully you guys are painting. And you're like, shut up, I'm not going to comment. All right. Oh, cookie break. Sorry. Need sugar. Sorry for you guys tuning in just to hear me chomp on a cookie, but I promise you we're doing stuff. I promise. Okay. So, I'm going to drill the most annoying parts first. So I'm going to drill through this head here. I'm going to take my X-Acto blade and just make an indent. You can make a little crosshair if you want. It's just something for the drill to grab, right? Because you don't want it to slide all over that. And there we go. And go slow. Go slow until your drill grabs. Then you can speed up a little bit. There we go. And pull it, pull the bit out and check it frequently. Pretty good. So tonight, maybe we'll finish building, and we'll get to priming too. Here's an ego boost for you. I was looking at the Studio Geraldes book, and I realized that I have a very similar methodology to what he was doing. Only he does it well, and I do it badly, poorly. So there, I'm the bad version. But yeah, that was kind of cool. Knowing that, hey, I would at least some of our methodology is the same. Okay, that's it. You don't have to go very deep. Just got a little notch in there. Oh, one thing I forgot to do? I forgot to shop for a base, because I'm not going to base this on this. I'm not going to just do the cork thing that I tend to do when I can't think of anything, even though that looks nice. I'm going to jump into my secret weapon bag of crap. See if I can find something cool. Secret weapon bag of crap. Let's see. That's a potential cool one. Kind of a wrecked city there. So maybe that one. Got more of the city rubble stuff. Got like these I use for El Dorado sometimes. These like gooey mangled body ones. You guys might have seen some of the alien infestation bases by Secret Weapon, which are fantastic. I use those for my Aleph. If there's anything here that's jumping out at me. I even have some Forgecraft stuff in here. This is a Forgecraft game. It's a pretty simple, regular piece of rock. I might actually use that because, I didn't really charge Jose for custom basing. I just feel like it's a half crime to not do an okay basing job on such a cool model. Yeah, I think I'm going to use that. I can use this one. It's a little more interesting, but whatever. I think that's what I'm going to use, yeah. Instead of the rubble base. I think I'll just use that like natural rock base. All right, cool. So we got our basing. Yeah, I ended up pulling a Forgecraft model. So sorry, Secret Weapon. I love your stuff, but in this case, the Forgecraft one was a nice choice. Infinity models are very nice, and the Force I have purchased, Ariadna, are clean and fun to paint. Doing a Scots build, Ariadna are pretty cool. I was looking at those Merovingians, and I think they're characterful. And I want to build one, but it's just such a low priority. Infinity for me is I have more fun painting it than I do playing it. Okay, so I'm going to put a couple of very carefully put holes in these notches, and I'm going to go very slow. I don't need to go very deep because I can't, for one. I'm going to go slow. And one more little session in here. What I like about this drill, one of the things you can do to control the speed is the amount of pressure you put on the trigger. So, slow. So, that's pretty cool. Makes life a little bit easier because this like speed setting up here doesn't work. Not a very good drill, but a crappy drill is just what she ordered for quick pinning. One of the types of joints that are terrible or really annoying for pinning is when they use a ball socket, a very tiny ball socket, because what you want to do is you got to file that the round edge flat and then score it, and then you can drill it. All right, that's all she wrote for those. All right, so now we're gonna drill the body parts. So I'm gonna drill 1, 2, 3, and then 4. I'm gonna do a drill through the foot so that it will pin through the base. Okay, so let's start there. This one you can actually go pretty deep. Some of these Infinity models are like standing on tiptoes, and that's oh, sorry. And that can be very frustrating to try to pin through. But some people have such a hard time just gluing it that pinning is a better option if you can pull it off. So there we go. The pins in the body, or you can go much deeper. As long as you're comfortable, you're not going to go too far. All right, that's pretty good. And we're going to do... Okay, so they're square notches. So I know where to aim. The thing is, the width of this bit is just going to destroy that notch. It'll destroy it entirely, which is okay. I need to score it because of a good grip here. This is an exciting episode. I might, maybe I will lose a finger on camera or something like that because I hate building. Not very good at it. I just build. I do the job that needs to be done. That's what I do. So, anyway, let's get to it. Yeah, you can see I just destroyed that peg, putting the hole in. whenever you pull in when you back the drill out, make sure you've got your finger down on the trigger. Just gonna make life easier for you. Once again, welcome to Play It Paint Live. Let us know what you're painting, what you should be painting. Leave me a comment. Oh, see? That happens. Tonight I am building the limited edition Joan of Arc miniature that came with the pre-order Studio Heraldez painting book. And I'm pinning it. Now, a lot of people tell me that they just don't pin their Infinity because it's just so fiddly that why bother, right? They just throw caution to the wind and hopefully get enough glue on there or get a strong enough bond with their glue that they're going to get by. That's cool. Sometimes there's some bits that I've given up on that I, just put a healthy amount of glue and activator on there and try to get by. I'm having a hard time doing this on camera. I'm going to pull this off for just a second. Yeah, this side does not want to behave. Okay. I'll be like, oh, my finger. Then I have to go to the emergency room and then I leave the camera on. All right. Ooh. I think that should do it. When building a model, do you prefer plastic or metal? For the building part, hard plastic is the easiest thing to do because you can use your plastic cement and so forth. But overall, I really greatly prefer metal miniatures. I love their weight in my hand. I love how they take paint. I love how you can fill gaps, and I love the way they hold detail. So metal minis is where it's at for me. But if I'm building a lot of miniatures like Wrath of Kings, I'm really happy that those are hard plastic. I'd say my least favorite material to use is the soft plastic, the rustic. Don't like it. All right, there. So pretty good. Okay, now let's start clipping our little pins here. You want your pins to be as straight as possible. So I'll take a little straightaway like that, and I'll clip off a section of it, and I'm gonna form pretty much all my pins this way. So the arm pins are gonna be quite small, and there's 2 of those. You can see I'm just cutting really small lengths, and then this longer length will be for where the foot attaches to the base, and then I'm gonna need another length here for the head. That's too long. Well, it might not be. We'll see. All right. So now I'm going to drop a little bit of glue here in the head. Gotta clean the tip of my super glue. Yeah. So I hardly ever build on camera. I think the last time I built on camera, I had a viewer that was moving to metal miniatures, and he asked me specifically, hey, can you show me how to do this? And I just turned on the camera and recorded it. It was like a Eldorado mini or something like that. Oops. So. Uh-oh. Got a little bit of a clog there. So I'm gonna open that. Get some dried glue in the tip. Sometimes you clip your way past it, and sometimes you just take a needle or whatever, paper clip in this case, and just shove it through. Once again, welcome to Plate Painted Live. Yes, we're doing a build night tonight, just because I'm gonna show you the steps that I usually do when I'm prepping a model to paint. And this is usually done prior to my shows, but we're just doing one tonight. Because why not? Let's just see if this helps anybody. Which the guys that watch this show pretty much all paint or build at least. So you guys probably have more suggestions for me than I have going the other way around. So let me know. There we go. Just needed to. There's really a solid slug of dried glue. There we go. Pushed past it. So I should be able to glue these bits on now. Okay. So then we're going to do this. And okay, so there we go. There's the pin. Doesn't have to be very long because we're going to trim it anyway based on how these pieces are going to fit. I'm going to stick the arm pins in. You can see they're not sticking out very far, but you'd be amazed. Just an extra millimeter can really give you more strength. And it doesn't have to be, oh, that one's too short actually, so I'm going to have to pull it out. See that? That's too short. I'm going to clip another length so that it's going to stick out just long enough. You can clip a specifically longer length and then trim it to the depth you want, like that. That's pretty long. So put that in. It's here. There we go. I'm just going to trim that just ever so slightly. There we go. And finally, a pin through the foot. Do that. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to give this a minute to dry. I'll load some comments here. Welcome to Plate Painted Live. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. If you guys tuned in late, come back and watch the beginning of the video so that you can see the Wrath of King stuff that I was showing off at the start of the program, knowing that we're really not going to be doing a whole lot of painting tonight. This is really more about building and prepping. Okay? All right. So now, with regards to how the sequence in which you attach the bits to the model, whoops, the way I do it is I start with the appendages that are going to protrude the least and work my way outwards. The reason why is because it's going to get harder and harder to get into these tight angles. And this part, the head, for example, which is what I'm going to glue first, this can be in and drying while you're struggling with the rest of it. So, like for example, so I can put the head in like this. And she's kind of turning the way they have her on the cover. She's kind of turning this way, her head. There we go. So we're gonna do that. And I hadn't realized this, but she's actually left-handed. Didn't realize that Joan was a lefty. And I'm gonna dry fit that. So you can see there's a dry fit. That should work quite well. Put a little bit of glue on there. Pro tip, lick this part. Lick it. A little bit of water in there will help the glue dry a little bit faster. It's like poor man's accelerant. There we go. And always dry fit. Make sure that whatever you have drilled out is going to work. Because I can see a little bit of flash in there. I'm going to drill that out. There we go. Just to pop it loose. And we're going to... Nice. Yeah. Okay. So let's do that. Nicely done. With the pin, you don't want to gob glue on. You just want to have enough so that you've got a good contact point and a good enough of a layer there of glue to form your bond. So there you go. So she's kind of holding her sword this way, she's turning this way, and then she's off there. So the final thing to do is we're going to drill the hole, pin her to the base, and then we're ready to prime. Okay, so I gotta figure out how I want her to stand. Probably like that, right? So I just I can mark it or just mentally note where the piece is gonna get drilled. So I normally just mark it with my finger, actually. So I just leave my finger there. And I do one of these. It's resin, so you don't have to worry about, you can drill all the way through the resin if you want. Just like that. It's really not going to do anything horrible. And in fact, probably a good idea just to take a real quick and dirty file to the edge here, because these tend to be just a little bit concave, and I want to have a little more contact with the surface here. So just a really light scuff sand there. There we go. Okay, and now we're ready to go. Let's go ahead and apply glue to the feet. And let's go ahead and attach her to the base. Now, one thing that I do not like with metal miniatures is a lot of them come with the, like this one, they have that metal tag, that slot, and then your some bases will have a slot like that to drop it in. Some people love that because they don't do basing and they just glue them in and it's good. They're good to go. And I can see that's kind of cool because, you have the strength and all that stuff. I don't like using flat bases, so I always end up clipping the tag off, and then just like I showed you guys, I pin it into the base. Anyway, pull this off. Thanks again for tuning in to Play It Painted Live. Let us know what you're painting, what you should be painting. I'm going to load comments here again, see if there's anything else. It should just be me and David talking. I'm cool with that. But I do appreciate all you guys that are watching. If you do want to leave a comment, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section if you're watching on YouTube, or you can tweet me at Play It Painted, or you can hop on the G+ part and do that. All right, so now more noise, because again, this is the part where I normally don't film this because it's noisy. So anyway, I'm also going to put my drill away, which just buys me another couple of seconds here of the model drying. I go through a lot of bits, so when I'm drilling, so I'll order more and more. And I just put this in the charger. So, in case you're wondering what model this is the limited edition, Joan of Arc for Infinity that came out with the Studio Heraldez painting guide. Okay, so now I'm gonna do some quick maintenance on my airbrush. Get that ready to go because we're gonna prime now. Okay, I'm gonna show you how I do my zenithal prime. In fact, I might switch my nozzle, my needle size. This is a detail model, so let's do that. In fact, so I'm gonna pop my airbrush off. This is in case you're wondering, what's the type of? This is one of these. What are these called? Zero. Forget the name of the brand. It's a cheap Chinese brand. And you can get these on Amazon for like $30, which is cool because you consider a lot of other types of models. Other types of airbrushes. Some of the replacement parts cost more than $30. So if something goes wrong, you're out more than $30. This comes with 3 different needles, 0.3, 0.5, and a 0.2. 0.3 is what I use most of the time. If I'm doing terrain or bigger pieces, I'll use the 0.5. I have the 0.3 in here right now. So I'm going to pop off. Ooh, that's on there good. I'm going to pop off the ferrule and the needle. See, this is not, I still would rather watch taking a brush to stuff. Oh, this needle. See how, look at how dirty that's in. Gotta give that a little bit of a clean. And I'm just going to apologize right now about the airbrushing. Yes, I am going to be doing some airbrushing. This is, again, we're filming what I normally don't show you guys on camera, which is the prep, the first, I call this the first night. Now, if you can imagine for a metal miniature like this, that I'm usually doing, we'll say on average 6 at a time. So I've got half a dozen models that I pinned and built the same way that you see there. And that I do all the priming, the pinning, priming, and then finally painting in this type of setup. So I'm going to put that needle away, break out the new needle, and we're going to pull the ferrule off. It's a little screwdriver that comes with the airbrush kit. But yeah, like I was saying, they're called zeros, I think. These cheap Chinese airbrushes are, yeah, they do have some issues with quality control. They're not going to fix anything if it's broken. But for the price that you pay, they're actually it's pretty damn good value because these cost less than replacement parts of name brand airbrushes, and especially if you're just starting off, I highly recommend going with the cheapest dual action airbrushes you can find. Those are usually the Masters airbrush, and then this one, Zero something, which I will remember at some point, I think. We'll see. Okay, so I'm going to put the other needle away. So we're going to install the 0.2, which is the finer needle. If I can get the ferrule out. Come on, you. There we go. And so I'm going to install the ferrule here. I don't recommend starting with the 0.2. Start with the 0.3 because that's more general purpose, and it's going to allow you to you can use a lot of paints, you know, a lot of the airbrush paints out of the bottle, which is cool. 0.2 means you will have to thin some of even the airbrush grade paints. You will have to thin some of them to get them through the 0.2. I'm going to insert the needle here. This is the delicate part. Inserting and removing the needle, you want to make sure it does not bend. So some caution when you're going through there. It's a little bit of a wonky fit, but here we go. Tighten this down. And there's plenty of airbrush videos on YouTube. You don't need to hear a tutorial from me. Okay, and just to note, whenever I'm messing with anything up here and the needle's in, I always pull the needle back when I'm attaching something. All right, so we're ready to go. What I like about this is you have this tiny little cup, whereas the Masters has a giant cup, which is great for terrain, but when I use this for miniature painting, you really don't want to have like half of this tiny cup filled with paint. All right. I tend to run at, say, 25 PSI most of the time when I'm doing airbrushing. You can go lower than that, especially in the 0.2 for higher detail. 25 is where I'm at most of the time. All right. So we're going to do our zenithal highlight. Okay. So I'm going to reattach my airbrush. I'm going to shoot a little alcohol through it just to verify that my installation was a success. And I look at the stream. Yeah, it looks good. Good, strong stream. Okay. I'm going to go with Vallejo black primer. So this is different than the methodology I use if I was just brush painting. If I was just brush painting, a lot of times I just prime white because I do all my effects with over white primer. It lets me get those bright colors. But we're going to do a zenithal prime, which will allow me to get some bright colors and shadow at the same time. And this is part of the Studio Heraldez method. Now, Heraldez uses 3 colors of primer. I tend to just use 2 because 2 is, you can use a gray primer like he does, but I find that I can get the highlight and shade that I want using just black and white primer. Okay, so there's the black primer. Spray a little section there just to ensure that I'm working. You can have a glove on. I'm not going to have a glove because I'm psycho. And you just give this a light, you know, build your prime. You don't have to be, you have to try to get a nice solid opaque coat out of the gate. In fact, you don't want to. You'd rather build it. Oh, interesting note, I forgot to mention. Jose wants me to paint this like Saber from Fate. So it should work out pretty well. So welcome to Play It Painted Live. Let us know what you're painting, what you should be painting. In the middle of our prep and prime here for this limited edition Joan model for Infinity. Okay, so now that the first initial black prime is down, I'm just gonna make sure I hit all the shadows and the angles underneath. And Make sure I've got a good solid layer of primer down. That's pretty good. Got all the layers I needed to get. All right. And then I'm going to do a little prime on the base. There we go. Pretty good. Nice black fingers, huh? I've got some Warg Hunters from The Hobbit that I need to paint. Too many hobbies on the go. What's up, Brett? Welcome to the show. All right. Cool. So that's enough black. I usually don't this is actually arguably over prime. One of those is learning to airbrush too. Cool. Well, hopefully you get a little bit out of this. I wouldn't say I'm an expert airbrusher, but I am a frequent user of airbrush. And my number one bit of advice with airbrush is take the time to learn it, because when I first started doing airbrush, I complained about it a lot because it was like, oh, there's so much cleaning and thinning and cleaning and cleaning. And I was like, man, I'm still so much faster with just a brush. And that's true. And that's going to be true for, say, the first month to 2 months of airbrushing. And then you'll start to, it's just been my experience that you start to gain some of the benefits of just priming your miniatures, right? So, for example, those of you that that are suffering inclement weather right now, can't go outside and break out a can of primer and paint and prime your models outside because your weather's bad. Well, you can still prime with airbrush, and that's a huge benefit to being able to use your airbrush. So you get that benefit pretty early on. And in fact, while you're learning the airbrush, you should probably just kind of learn your muscle memory from priming and just use your airbrush for priming. So in other words, if you were to buy the Masters G233 or this guy, the 0 point that I'm using, just drop in the 0.3 needle and just practice priming. Just prime a bunch of models and just continue to paint with your brush. But once you get more and more comfortable with cleaning your airbrush and administrating your airbrush, because honestly, if you're airbrushing properly, most of your time is going to be spent doing that, just administering your airbrush. And it's annoying, but that's the technique. But when you get good at that part of it, you can go really fast and you can get a lot of stuff done. I mean, these days, a lot of the stuff that I do, that I paint, I can achieve I can get a lot of models done by airbrushing. The 50 models I showed you at the start of the show, the Nasir stuff, most of that is done by airbrushing. All right, so cleaning it out, which is perfect timing because this primer dries pretty quick. So I'm going to shoot alcohol through it. That's what I normally use for cleaning out the airbrush. And so now we're going to switch over to the white primer. Agree with Brett. So many good models out on the market. I know, there's too many. Too many. Speaking of which, are either of you guys backing the Ghostbusters Kickstarter from Cryptozoic? Because I love Ghostbusters and I love the theme of Ghostbusters. The artwork I'm not so keen on, so I haven't decided. But I don't know. Oops. Let me scroll past a few of these. Okay. All right. So Brett, yeah, if you're airbrushing, dude, this is this is a pretty good episode to be watching. I hardly ever airbrush on camera. And the times that I have, people are like, damn it, turn your compressor off or whatever. All right. So with white, you do really want to make sure that it's shaken up, because white has some coarse pigment in it, and you don't really want that to be too separate. It's kind of a coarser spray, kind of a grainier spray. All right, so now I'm going to do the zenithal highlight. So white primer in the paint, in the airbrush. By the way, see how it's just a little dot in there? Just barely the cup filled. I'm nowhere near the top of the cup. That's the proper way to load your airbrush. When I started, I was like, oh, I can use the full length of the cup because that's keep painting, and that you don't want to do that, because the more paint you have in here, the longer time you have for it to potentially dry in the airbrush, and you don't want that. So what I'm going to do with the zenithal highlight is I'm going to spray at an angle coming down, so I'll show you what that looks like. And I'm just going pretty light right now. You can see it's looking kind of gray. So this is almost like the moral equivalent of doing a dry brush of white over black. Except I'm doing it with the airbrush, we're doing it in a much smoother fashion. And I'm going to continue to work the angle up. You can see it looks pretty gray. But I'm going to start to highlight. I'm going to start to concentrate my spray towards the top of the model. And you can see I'm starting to build light and shadow. This is going to help me during the painting process. I got a little tag there I need to get rid of. One sec. I'm not backing Ghostbusters. I didn't know about it. I did the Hero Forge, and I have yet to design my models. Hero Forge looked kind of cool. Phil Howard did some Hero Forge. I think he backed it. I just don't really do RPG stuff to warrant backing Hero Forge. All right, so back to zenithal highlighting. I had to get a little tag. So now I'm just building up white towards the top of the model, towards where light is really gonna, should be hitting the model. If it were out in front and slightly above the model. This is gonna help me because as I paint over this, it's gonna provide my highlights and my shadow. This is what zenithal priming is, and you see, I mean, you can actually do zenithal priming and then using washes actually get an okay paint job if you're in a really big rush. We're not in that big a rush. I'm just kind of showing this off as part of one of the tenets of Studio Heraldez. So if you're just looking down the length of the blade there, you can see that it goes from a gray to a white. That's what we want. That's what we want. So I'm just going to keep building up. All right. Pretty good. Okay, cool. So there's a zenithal highlighting, or zenithal prime. I'm even going to do just a little on the rock, on the base, because that'll help me out a little bit. All right, so let's clean out the airbrush again. And so since we got a little bit of time left, we got about 30-ish or so minutes left in the show. I'm going to finish the airbrush portion of the model. And then really all that will be left to do is to paint it. Paint the details in, and this model will be done. Okay, so giving the airbrush a little cleaning. Like I said, when you're doing airbrushing, a lot of time is just spent on basic maintenance of the equipment. The airbrushing itself should go pretty quick. And so when you really learn to value how to do the cleaning and the maintenance, you're going to get the most out of the tool. It's very frustrating at first. You are going to make mistakes. You will bend your needle. That's why stay with cheap. Buy the cheap airbrush, because you're going to ruin it, just like regular bristle brushes. You know, if you remember what you did to the original bristle brush when you started painting with that, imagine how much more havoc you have with a precision instrument like an airbrush. You're going to bork up a lot of stuff. And I still treat my airbrushes like shit. Full disclosure here. I still do. I clean them, but I know I could be doing a better job. I could be using an ultrasonic cleaner. There's a lot more I could be doing to ensure that my airbrush is in better shape. That's okay. Okay. All right. So there we go. So now we're gonna paint the principal part of this model, which is her armor. Now I'm not gonna follow that kind of that baby blue Pano armor. I'm going to, like I said, Jose asked me to paint this model like Saber from the Fate series. So I'm going to be doing a non-metallic steel over the model. Okay, so I'm going to need some colors here to get going. So I'm going to pull out a few different shades. I hope I still have, no? That's a dead end. Let's see what we got here. So this is going to be pretty much all grays. Okay, so I'm going to start. And she has lighter armor, so I'm going to use this rock here from Minotaur. Actually, no, take it back. We are going to use more model color. Okay, so I'm going to do a very light model color black. Then I'm going to move up to maybe I won't be moving up to anything. Where are my colors? Actually, maybe I should do this dark sea gray. I'll do dark sea gray. Then I need kind of a medium gray, which I know I've got. I just can't seem to find it. We'll find it. Oh, come on. There we go. Base gray. And then finally, actually, maybe I should start base gray and then go to light gray. I like that. That's a good plan. So all I have to do is find the light gray. I can use pale blue gray. It's a good one. US gray is a good one. There we go. So we'll do that. And we'll go up to white or light sea gray. Ooh, light gray is fantastic. Let's go with, oh no, that's better. Yeah, that's better. Like that. And then I want to do light sea gray at the end of this. Yeah, light sea gray will be my last color. Which I know I've got, because I've got at least 2 bottles of, there we go. It's called white gray, but it's actually light sea gray or white gray. Okay. So same concept as the zenithal highlight, except we're just going to use a bit more colors to do this. So start here with a little bit of black, not much. Okay, and here we go. I understand that zenithal highlight was not hugely important on this model, but I wanted to show you the technique just as a demonstration of what I normally do when I'm prepping a model. As this model is mostly going to be non-metallic metals, it's not that critical. You can see, okay, so I'm laying the black down. Hold on a minute. I'll look at something. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I think that's right. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's move up to base gray. I'm actually may turn my pressure down just a hair. When you're learning how to airbrush, don't mess with your pressure much. Set it to like 25 and just leave it. All right, that's good. And you notice I didn't really clean out the airbrush and just going from one color to the next. You can do that when you're doing this type of gradient style airbrushing. It's okay. So, base gray. Mixed in with a little black there. Rid of that. Once again, welcome to Play It Painted Live. Let us know what you're painting or what you should be painting. I am painting I'm mostly prepping this limited edition Joan D'Arc miniature from Infinity. This is the one that comes with the Studio Heraldez paint guide. Oh shoot, one other thing I gotta fix. See, sometimes you just go on camera, you're just a little more haphazard. And so some stuff just gets missed. And when I say missed, it's like the odd bit of flash. There we go. Got it. So much on the plate. I agree. And we haven't even gotten like Forgotten King or any of those yet. It's going to be another big month of painting for me. Forgotten King. Okay. So you would treat this just like you would brush highlighting. You just stay towards the top of the model. The lighter you go. I got a little clog here I gotta take care of. That's gonna happen. That's very normal, especially once you've turned the pressure down. Your paint may clog. So you're gonna want to clear your way past that. All right, so now, mental note, don't clean the airbrush with a paper towel. Cleaning paper towel bits, yes, I don't do that. I use a regular towel. Well, I do a lint-free towel, but thank you for the tip, yes. I never actually tried with the paper towel. I'd be terrified to do that. Just would be terrified something's gonna go in. Anyway, time to move up in color. We're gonna go to pale blue gray. And once again, just straight in. I'm only doing like a couple of drops because you don't need to do much. And again, doing the zenithal highlight technique here. The other thing you don't want to do when you're airbrushing, don't hold your brush totally still. Always try to keep it moving because you don't want to pull paint. You're really just kind of filling it in. Nope, another clog. Happens. Sometimes troubleshooting a clog takes a little time. So you can see, starting to build up those light layers. So when I do stuff like Wrath of Kings, I actually will do all of their swords this way. When I'm batch painting, I'll do all of their swords. I'll do all the gradient on their swords right after I prime and after I'm starting to block base coats, the base colors down. Okay. So you can see this model's gradually getting lighter and lighter. All right. Okay, now almost at the last color here. But she's coming along pretty well. You can see. Now in the Heraldez book, he uses the Harder Steenbeck airbrushes, which I love. I just don't have the really nice ones like he has. I'm using the shitty Chinese airbrush here, but it gets the job done. Okay, let me clean this out, and then we're going to go to our last color, which is light gray, and then we're going to finish. We're going to do just a little bit of brushwork before we. I just spent 30 minutes dealing with it, looked up and saw your regular towel. Lesson learned. Yeah. Also, get a set of these little pipe cleaners for airbrushes. They're fantastic and they're cheap. Actually, get a couple sets because this one needs to be replaced. So here's a brand new set. So I actually keep a backup because I know I'm gonna blow through it with the kind of airbrushing I do. All right, so pretty good. One more little rinse here. And then so for this final color, I'm going to turn my pressure down and just work nice and tight. Because I'm only going to use it as a highlight. Pretty cool. Okay. So I'm going to turn my, what's my pressure at right now? It is at, I'm going to take it to just 20. Once again, welcome to Play It Painted Live. This is a noisier episode because we're doing our build and the what am I trying to say here? The stuff I normally do off camera. So, noisy compressor. So, the owner of Badger rants against those things as the metal can scrape the cup or needle. I have a fairly scratched up Iwata to prove it. I use these quite a bit though. And I don't know, I don't have a problem with them. But everybody's experience is going to be different. I guess maybe I'm a little more gentle with these. I don't know. They're okay. I mean, I'll be honest. I've had some bad experience with some Badger airbrushes. Part of the reason why I'm like totally cool with just using these cheaper Chinese airbrushes, because I had a Badger ship without just completely missing the ferrule. I've had but anyway. This isn't a, brand versus this brand versus that brand or anything like that. Everybody's experience is different. Some people have told me that they hate these airbrushes and they never use them. But I can get away with it, so that's cool. Anyway, so light gray or light gray or light sea gray, whatever they call this. And I'm just going to hit little points. Now, when you're doing something like this, it's easy to get those transitions in. When you have a much larger model, easier to get the metallic transitions in than it is on Joan here. So it may not be as apparent, but so nice and tight. I'm actually gonna highlight the face too, because I want that face and hair to be like I'm painting over white primed. And there we go. I'm just doing a little tip highlight on the sword. Doing a there. Sorry that the lighting is actually kind of washing out the detail. Let's see if I can actually get a decent shot of this. You can see I'm in real tight, real gentle. Just building a bit of that light sea gray. There we go. Okay. So that's going to be it for the airbrush part. This would actually, again, if you can imagine doing this 6 models at a time, that's typically how I do it. This would be the end of the first night, and I would finish painting this the second night. I am going to do a couple of steps, though, just to continue with the armor so that it doesn't just look like a zenithal primed model, because literally that's what it looks like right now. You might be watching going, dude, you had that look like 20 minutes ago when you were just doing black primer and white primer. And it's true. There is not much of a difference, at least on camera, between what I had 20 minutes ago from just using 2 bottles of primer versus what I've got now. Once again, welcome to Play It Paint Live. Let us know what you're painting or what you should be painting. If you want to comment, you can comment on the YouTube comment section, or you can tweet me at Play It Painted. No worries. Pretty sure I was being too rough learning my first airbrush. Your advice to go shitty airbrush first is good. Yeah, I still use shitty airbrushes because I know I'm just rough on them. I do really like the H&S Infinity stuff, or this is the H&S Ultra. They're good. They're good airbrushes. I love the action on them. I love how they're designed so that I can go through and clean really quick, and it's just such a great feel. That airbrush, I love that. I love the harder Steenbeck stuff, but it's pricey, and I'm like I said, I'm rough on airbrushes, so I know I'm gonna thrash something like that if I use it too often. And in fact, that one is pretty busted. I am probably am going to buy myself another harder Steenbeck at some point. But for now, the little 0.0, not bad. I got a 0.2 millimeter needle in it right now, and it's pretty good. It's doing the job. So just going to do a final clean here. Turn the pressure back up. And I'm just going to blow through and make it clean. All right. I don't know. I guess I can see that when the thing about the wire brushes is if and when, and I say when as an eventuality. Paint dries on those wire brushes, yeah, you're gonna scratch shit up. It's not gonna be very pretty. So I try to mitigate that by replacing them somewhat frequently, so that I'm using fresh brushes most of the time. So final little clean here on the airbrush. Still got a little bit of gunk to fire through, but otherwise pretty clean. Sometimes those certain colors will clump or otherwise just hang out in spots that you don't really want them. There we go. And what I used to pull, when I was done airbrushing, I would take the pieces apart and just let them soak in solvent, which is pretty cool. But I can't deal with the fumes and the flammability anymore. So I don't do that anymore. I'll just clean them up to the best of my ability and set them aside. Okay. Do you have any advice for keeping dried flakes from clogging up the airbrush? It seems like part of the airbrushing, but it's probably my biggest pain. Yes. Hope I'm not no, don't worry about it, dude. These are great questions. Okay, so dried paint which flakes up inside the body of the airbrush, and it tends to be, if I'm not mistaken, well, my experience anyways, is it tends to happen here inside the cup, right? Inside the cup and like towards the front of the airbrush. Honestly, you just keep it clean and try to prevent your paint from having too many opportunities to dry in the airbrush. That's why I'm saying when you load your airbrush, like put in the bare minimum. Don't overfill your cup, and don't give the paint too much surface to air contact to dry. Because when your paint starts drying, that's when you're prone to getting skins and flaking and that sort of thing. Now, some colors are just prone to it, depending on how the pigments are ground in that particular paint and how the color interacts with the paint. They just may be prone to it, and that all I gotta say is sorry. For example, the Vallejo Model Air Dark Gray, the ones that I get are just crusty as all hell. They're chunky. I've gone through and mixed them up, but they just stay kind of free in that, and that form like globules in your airbrush, and they clog your airbrush constantly, even after like a significant amount of thinning. And I've just had the worst time with them. So what I do is I try to find a replacement color, because I just know that color is prone to being bad, which is a shame too, because dark gray from Vallejo Model Color is just such a versatile color. And you're better off, it's been my experience, I've had better luck just taking the Model Color Dark Gray and thinning that to go through the airbrush than I've had with the Model Air Dark Gray. It's kind of sad. Anyway, we're just going to do, I'm going to show you really a couple of things that you can do here to help you with like a non-metallic look. So, here's our look here. Let's see if I can actually get it to, and it is 11, but what I want to do, I just want to show you guys a little bit more from the first night. So here's where we're at. And from the, I guess from the camera, you can't really see highs and lows, not really. So now what I want to do is I want to apply a wash or an ink to get into the shadows and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to mix myself a little ink here. I'm going to apply it somewhat liberally to the model. And then we're going to come back and do just a really, really, really fine, kind of like a dry brush. So, oh, here's another cool one. Like thin that heavy charcoal through the airbrush as a substitute for dark gray, because problems with dark gray. I need to find my ink. Okay, so I'm going to take some black ink here, and I'm just going to thin this with water. So I'm going to take some water, like a 3-to-1 dilution, black water. I'm sorry, not black water, black ink into water. So the ink is really powerful. It's really just one drop of ink. And I'm going to use a kind of a crappier brush to do this. Okay, so, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to run this in the fine details of the armor. To keep the, and keep, it's going to keep all that fine detail. Now, if it's a larger model, you may actually want to just take some black and just directly paint into it. The other thing you can do take some, if you have the dry pigments, here's my Vallejo dry pigments. And I want to read, oh wait. You know, if you have dry pigments, you can make a slurry and do this. So there's several ways you can do it. With how fine this detail is, ink is going to be really good here. I suppose you can use a Citadel wash, or a Vallejo wash, but you really want to thin those. And sometimes the wash leaves too much of a tint, when really all you're trying to do is just get that black. You can see the black detail, that black line. You want your color integrity to stay pretty true here. So yeah, this is we're gonna paint her like Saber from the Fate series. It's kind of fun. I've been watching Fate, and yeah, I enjoy it as an anime. I think it's one of the better animes I've seen in a long time. You know, it doesn't have the like fan service stuff that you have to deal with other animes. And I'm doing the tabard too. I don't know why. The tabard's going to be blue, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay. And you can see just the ink does a decent job there. Just kind of, oops. Because this is so thin, you have to watch out for your surface tension. What you don't want, like this little crucifix part here in the inscription, you don't want the water pooling from this side to the other side and then basically coming off when the thing dries down. All right, cool. So moving them right along, I'm gonna give her a minute to dry, and I'm gonna do one more thing, and then we're pretty much, this is it. I do appreciate the questions though. They're great. These are great questions. A lot of times on this show, I kind of ramble on stuff that's not related to painting while I'm painting, and it's okay, but you know. All right. So I'm just gonna scroll through these. All right, cool. And let's load up YouTube comments. I'll check. I'm getting nobody. I've had a few people early on send me stuff through Twitter, but I haven't been getting much Twitter at all lately. Yeah, I've got no. But yeah, if you're on Twitter right now, send me a hi. You know, at Play It Painted. Let me know that you're around, or you don't have to. I'm just saying, just so I know, I should whether or not I should keep using Twitter as one of the means to comment on this show or not. I want to know if it's worth it or not. Okay. So here we go. Okay. So that's drying down. And we're going to do one final thing. And then we're going to call it a night, because there's not, to do anything more on this would actually require a bit more actual painting. It's actually looking pretty good so far. You can see the gradient on the shoulder pad. It's looking pretty good. All right, but the final thing to do is you can do either super sharp line highlight, which is what Geraldes does, or you could do the not as smart version but faster version that I'm going to show you right here. Okay, so never been much of a dry brusher, but In some cases, it can prove useful if you're doing it right. In general, I say don't dry brush. I don't like the effect of dry brushing. I don't care too much for what it does. All right, so here's where I'm at. This brush is a makeup brush, okay? You can buy this at, at like the 99-cent store or whatever, or the Big Lots or the dollar store. And yeah, they're going to go for $1. This is called a eyeshadow brush. And what you're looking for is a couple things. You want the bristles of the brush to be short and fairly tightly packed, so that the brush feels kind of dense. You don't want to have like this, where this is a brush where the bristles are not tightly packed, and you can see you can get in between those bristles. There's lots of air in between those bristles. If I do that here, I'm hitting a pretty firm surface, but soft, right? It's got good give. It's not wiry the way a shader brush is wiry. One thing I would caution you, if you're going to use like a makeup style brush for this technique, wash it out a few times, because you're gonna get loose fibers. And if the brush is really, really poor quality, they may continue to shed, in which case abandon ship, try to find a brand that's good for you. This one's called Elf, and this one works pretty well. Anyway, that was a lot of explanation here for what I'm about to do, but whatever. Okay, so now I'm going to do a final little line highlight, but I'm going to do it in the most rudimentary, elementary means possible. You don't have to do white. You can do like glacier blue, which I may actually do because I like it's a nice clean color. Or you can do a slightly off white, or you can just do pure white. Pure white also works. I'm gonna do glacier blue because it's gonna allow me to kind of play with my tone a little bit, because I want to it'd be cool to just have just the most subtle little hint of blue in what I'm doing here. Right, so pour some of that out. So a little bit of water here, just a little bit. And we're not going to do very much of this. It's going to be the lightest little airbrush ever. I'm sorry, dry brush ever. So we get that into the brush. Just basic painting 101 dry brush technique. Then I'm going to wipe it all off. When I say all like literally, like almost all of it off. Number one mistake for people that are learning dry brushing is they feel like they have to leave some paint, visible paint on the brush. One of the techniques that a lot of us use when we're dry brushing, if you run the brush this way, see how I'm getting color there? That's too much paint still on the brush. Should be able to, no, still. Because you don't want too much paint, because you don't want to leave streaks, you don't want to leave clumps, you don't want to leave basically texture. You want the particles, the dried paint particles, to be nice and fine. Okay, so I could do this and I'm not leaving a mark. It's pretty good. So now, here we go on this. And so I'm going to stay in one direction. Shitty boy band jokes aside. And this is just going to be the lightest little treatment here. Ever so. And there's some parts of this model that are still a little wet from previous. So Saber from Fate, her armor, the anime style, is almost white looking. And that's kind of what I'm going for here. Almost a white looking armor. That's how, and that's what I'm going for. And then I'm going to contrast that with a darker blue. Okay, so what this is doing is this is just giving the slightest little edge highlight on stuff. Okay. In general, you want to be all one towards the same direction. And subtle is the name of the game here. This is infinity. We're talking intricate detail, and you don't want to screw it up. You want to be able to hold as much of that detail as possible while delivering your color. So your hand starts to look like that. That's the painter's mark, right? We're just about done for tonight. I want to thank you guys for tuning in and watching. I realize this is what you guys tend to see at the start of my show. The model is in this condition. Then I'll go through, paint the face, do the highlights, paint the detail in. So tonight was kind of cool. It was kind of, this is what I would be doing prior to the show beginning. And without the explanation of stuff, this tends to go pretty quick. Getting the model ready. But you can see, I mean, it's going to be a pretty significant advantage once I do start painting this. And I don't know, maybe I'll paint this tomorrow night or at some point before doing breaking open all that Shale Hans stuff. I'll do this. So you can see, like, I've got that. You can see that it's kind of showing up there, but it's not scratchy looking. Like typical dry brush stuff looks really, kind of sketchy looking. This is a cleaner, softer way to do that. You can still hit this with a glaze if you want to smooth out like broad surfaces like the shoulder pad. You can do stuff like that. Otherwise, pretty cool. Thanks for taking. Oh yeah, no problem. I mean, you guys are. I really appreciate you guys tuning in, and I love the questions tonight. Good stuff. I mean, that's the whole point of this show for me is if there's people that want to paint along with it or just have a couple of questions about painting. That's cool. Okay, so, and let me just kind of zoom in on this model so you can see what's going on. So, again, it doesn't look, you can't see a whole lot on it right now, but I'm gonna keep doing a couple more layers, and the highlights will start to pop, and especially when you start to focus them in. This is already, I mean, to me, it's already starting to look pretty promising. And then when the blue goes down, this thing will really pop because Saber has that dark blue contrast. So the tabard will be dark blue. I may even do, some of the armor plates dark blue. And she has I think she has a little bit of gold, definitely on the sword. The hilt, I recall from the show, is gold. So yeah. Man, this is a fun model. How cool is that? I get to do this twice. But I'm not doing the other one like Saber. I don't recall what the client wanted for that one. We'll find out. All right, so I'm going to load comments one more time. We'll find out where we're at. But yeah, here's the model. And we'll paint the rest of her in, and I think she's going to look pretty awesome. All right, She reminds me quite a bit of futuristic version of Ashlyn from War Machine. Yes. Yes, this is Infinity. This model is Joan of Arc. Now, there are 3 Joan of Arc sculpts, and this one you could only get by pre-ordering Angel Giraldez's new painting guide. So, but yeah, really fun sculpt. Actually, cool little thing. If, let's say you have this model and you want to use her as Ashlyn, Wargamma, Mr. Dandy, I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He's working on a system by which is just basically a lip. So if you imagine this being a lip and not having this groove here, where you can take a 25 mil model and just drop it into a 30 mil base like this, and you can take it in and out, and you can use it for both games. So for example, if you wanted to use this for Infinity and for War Machine, you just pop it in. Those are in development, but I'm going to bug James about those because I'm excited about that. Because yes, I do, I'd love to be able to use this in some of the 30 mil games that I play. In particular, Relic Knights be pretty sick. I would use her as a Isabeau Durand proxy. She'd be badass for that. So anyway, let's load comments. Two comments. Let's see. Can you shout me out? My name is Jonathan. Okay. What's up, Jonathan? I'm sorry I'm 21 minutes late. Lord Draconum, great vid. Thank you, sir. Appreciate the comment. But yeah, so here's the prep. This is where we would normally be at the start of my show, and we'd paint this in. I don't know. I mean, if I'm around tomorrow night, maybe I'll just turn on the camera again just for the sake of completion and just finish painting this model so that you guys can see it. Or, failing that, I would do that at another point. But anyway, that's going to be it for this show. Want to thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate the comments tonight. Again, if you have any questions or anything, you can leave them in the YouTube comments if you're just watching this on recording. I usually get back and respond to those as well. But yeah, I want to thank everybody for watching, and we will catch you on the next one.